Ladies and gentlemen, today's video I would like to introduce you to a very important principle of Italian procedural code, which is if you don't contest or criticize something, this something can be considered as accepted by you. Be very careful with this. Be very careful to use this principle in the jungle of invoices in Italy. Let's go more large and explain with calm. So every time a professional sends you an invoice in Italy, if you don't like the invoice, the job and the accomplishment was not ready reached. The job was done maybe with a different quality, was not accomplished in 100%, was half done and half is missing. You have to contest this invoice. You have to contest this request of payment, because if you do not contest this, it can be considered accepted. How many times clients come to me and say, Davide, I asked an invoice for services for electrician, plumbing, construction in my villa in Portofino. Somebody sometimes did something, didn't done something else, so the job was not completed, and after some months I received an invoice. Then I did nothing, be careful to this point, and then it comes to me a court order that I have to pay 5,000 euros. So if you receive an invoice and the job was not agreed, accomplished, completed, or was not completed in enough or predetermined quality, you have to say something. This concept is very simple. Like when I am in North America, and every time read in subway, metro, station, airport, see something, say something. The concept is very simple. So if you are not agreeing with somebody saying an invoice or request of payment, you have to reply in written that you do not agree with this invoice, you don't recognize this invoice, you contest this invoice. Again, one more time, I don't finish my energy to repeat this. If you receive a request of anything, you have to contest it in written, because if you don't do it, it can be considered as accepted in a later stage. Of course, I'm not saying that if I send you an invoice with no reason of 1,000 euros, you lost it, you have to pay. You have to contest my invoice in the court, and in front of a judge, you can demonstrate that this invoice was for nothing, was not based on a real done activity, job, consultancy, whatever. But in order to not go further into a judgment, to not pay a lawyer, etc., if you catch the request in the right moment when it arrives at first time, and you reply in a predetermined amount of time, good amount of time, so at least within 30 days, this invoice can be contested at the beginning and not lead to a further court. If I, as a professional, send an invoice to a client and this client contests the invoice, I cannot go further by applying this invoice. I cannot ask an enforcement of this invoice because this invoice is contested, criticized, it's not accepted by my client. I have to start an ordinary process in order to demonstrate my activity. Instead, if I send an invoice to one of my clients and this client doesn't say nothing, I can go straight to a court order to order this client to pay. So remember this little trick. Every time you receive an invoice or a request of payment, if you agree with it, that's perfect. You don't have to say nothing, you don't have to do nothing. But if you do not agree, do not forget to contest this invoice, because the principle in Italy, one last time, you don't contest, you don't criticize, that's considered as accepted. Well, you will have time to criticize, to oppose yourself, to appeal yourself to an undue invoice, but that leads to more expenses, more time spent. I hope this little trick will give you a little bit more understanding of how the procedural and the procedure between business to business or business to professional or business to client, B2C, B2B works in Italy. Use this advice because it's for free and really you can save a lot of time and troubles in court. Of course, the reason why I always advise to come to a lawyer to criticize, reply to an email is because if an email has 3 objects and you don't contest each of them 3, be careful because the first, the second, the third can be considered as non-contested, so accepted. So always go to a lawyer to have a precise reply to any letter, to any request you receive. Thank you so much for the view. I just noticed that many of you are not subscribed to my channel, so please do it. Put a like, subscribe, and be always aware of my new videos. Thank you so much for the view.